Well, let's spend a bit of time in this section talking about the eukaryotic cell. And what we'll do is we'll just take a look at the various parts of a eukaryotic cell so that we have a better understanding of how these cells function. Now, inside the typical eukaryotic cell is a nucleus and organelles such as the endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi bodies, ribosomes, and one or more mitochondria. The nucleus serves several functions for the cell. The nucleus is where the DNA is located and kept safe from all of those metabolic processes that are going on in the cell that actually might damage it, which, of course, would not be good. The nucleus will allow some molecules access to the DNA, such as when the cell is ready to use the DNA. The nuclear membrane, which is also called the nuclear envelope, is what carries out this function, similar to the way that the cell membrane works. Think of it as having a doorman inside of the building that will only let a few people into a particular room, such as a conference room of a hotel. Now, the nuclear envelope consists of two lipid bilayers folded together as a single membrane. The membrane proteins aggregate into thousands of tiny pores that allows proteins and RNA that are created by the DNA passage through this nuclear envelope. The nuclear envelope also encloses the nucleoplasm, which is a viscous fluid similar to the cytoplasm that suspends the DNA. The nucleus also contains at least one nucleolus that is a dense, irregularly shaped region of proteins and nucleic acid where subunits of ribosomes are produced. Another part of the eukaryotic cell is the endomembrane system, which is a series of interacting organelles between the nucleus and the plasma membrane. The endomembrane system makes lipids, enzymes, and proteins to use either inside the cell or for excretion into the space outside of the cell to be transported to and used by other parts of the body. There are also a variety of vesicles that have a number of purposes. Vesicles are small, membrane-enclosed sacs that form by budding off of the other organelles or when a patch of plasma sinks into the cytoplasm. Vesicles can collect and dispose of waste, toxins, or debris. Another part of this system are peroxisomes, which contain enzymes that break down fatty acids, amino acids, and poisons. Lysosomes have a function in intracellular digestion by using enzymes to break down cellular debris, carbohydrates, proteins, nucleic acids, and lipids. Vesicles and white blood cells will ingest bacteria and other cell parts and deliver them to lysosomes to be broken down. Vacuoles form where multiple vesicles fuse together. Now, like lysosomes, they can break down various products and waste as well as other functions. In plant cells, a large fluid-filled central vacuole accumulates amino acids, sugars, ions, waste, and toxins. And it is this fluid in the central vacuole that helps keep the plant stems, leaves, and other parts of the plant firm. Now, the endoplasmic reticulum is an extension of the nuclear envelope that is constructed of interconnected tubes and flattened sacs to form a single compartment that stores enzymes. Now, there are two kinds of endoplasmic reticulums. There are smooth ones and rough ones. Ribosomes attach to the surface of some endoplasmic reticulums, giving it a rough appearance. These ribosomes are responsible for making polypeptides that thread into the interior of the endoplasmic reticulum. Cells that make and store proteins have a lot of rough endoplasmic reticulum. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum do not make their own proteins, but will receive proteins from the rough endoplasmic reticulum, which they will repackage for use elsewhere. Others are enzymes that stay in the endoplasmic reticulum to break down carbohydrates, fatty acids, and some drugs and poisons. Another part of the eukaryotic cell are Golgi bodies. And a Golgi body has folded membranes that can kind of look like a stack of pancakes. The Golgi body contains enzymes that will put finishing touches on proteins and lipids delivered from the endoplasmic reticulum. The enzymes from the Golgi body will attach phosphate groups or carbohydrates or even take off certain proteins. These finished proteins are sorted into packages in vesicles to be sent through the plasma membrane or to become lysosomes. Now, something that you're going to hear a lot about is ATP. And ATP is useful for cells because it carries energy between reactions. Cells produce ATP through aerobic respiration, which are a series of reactions that require oxygen. And this is essentially why we have to breathe, to get oxygen to the cells for making ATP and therefore energy, which we also need. The aerobic respiration occurs in mitochondria, which are often called the powerhouse of the cell. Mitochondria consist of two membranes, one on the outside and another folded around on the inside. So this structure creates two areas within the mitochondria, an inner area and an outer area. Hydrogen ions accumulate in the outer area until ions are pushed through the membrane into the inner area. This flow of ions is what drives ATP formation. Most eukaryotic cells have mitochondria, ranging from having only one, such as with yeast, to thousands like we would see in a human skeletal muscle. Now, cells that have high energy demand will have a lot of mitochondria. So I guess that means it doesn't take a whole lot of energy to make beer, which is a good thing. Mitochondria will have their own DNA, which is circular in structure, similar to the DNA in bacteria. Some eukaryotes that live in an oxygen-free environment have modified mitochondria that produce hydrogen in addition to ATP. Although these modified mitochondria do not have their own DNA, which means they would not be able to divide and reproduce independently. Another structure are plastids. Plastids are double-membraned organelles that function in photosynthesis, storage, or pigmentation in plant and algae cells. Photosynthetic cells of plants and many protists contain chloroplasts, which are plastids that are specialized for photosynthesis. Most chloroplasts are flat and disc-shaped, and these are the cells that often make up the leaves of flowering plants. Chloroplasts have two outer membranes that enclose a semi-fluid interior, stroma that contain enzymes, and the chloroplast DNA. The stroma is a highly folded membrane that forms a single continuous compartment and is where photosynthesis actually occurs. Now, the innermost membrane of chloroplast incorporates many pigments, including green one called chlorophyll, which is what gives most plants, which gives green plants their green color. It doesn't give most plants their green color, it gives many plants their green color. Now, during photosynthesis, these pigments capture energy from sunlight and pass it on to other molecules, which use this energy to create ATP. This ATP is then used inside the stoma to build sugars from carbon dioxide and water. Chromoplasts and other plastids that make and store pigments other than chlorophyll include red or orange, which make up the various colors of flowers and other plant parts. The chromoplasts are related to chloroplasts and are actually convertible to one another. So this is why some fruits, like green tomatoes, will actually ripen and turn red, because the green chloroplasts are converted to red chromoplasts, so the appearance of the fruit actually changes. Amelioplasts are unpigmented plastids that make and store starch. And these are abundant in tubers or underground stems. Think carrots or potatoes and these kinds of things. And they're also abundant in fruits and seeds. So that pretty much wraps up this section on the various parts of the eukaryotic cell. And this, is just to give you an overview of what these various parts are and their general function. And what we're going to do as we go through Bio 101 is we're going to refer back to a lot of these structures when we are talking about how organisms function. So it's a good idea to make sure you've got a good understanding of this, and as we are covering additional parts in our biology course, that you understand these the vocabulary and what we're talking about, so you'll actually be able to visualize what's going on and in the body of these animals and plants and other things we're going to be talking about as we go through the rest of our course.